Hello, everybody. My name's Emma Duncan, and I'm the current president for the American Society for Bone and Mineral Research. And today it's my great pleasure to talk to Dr. Elizabeth Zimmermann, who's the co-chair of the Education Advisory Committee. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, Emma. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. And I'm really hoping that through these videos, our membership get to know our committees better, because that is where all the work actually happens. So my first question to you is, what is the role of your committee?
So I'm the co-chair of the Education Advisory Committee. And our task is to develop educational content outside of the general meeting. So we develop webinars on topics that are not being covered in the general meeting, and we curate existing content that ASBMR has. And so if you go to the ASBMR website and look under the Education Resource Center, you'll see all the different content that ASBMR has amassed from its wonderful members. And so that includes previous webinars and podcasts, recordings from the general meeting, the primer on metabolic bone disease and disorders of mineral metabolism, and then publications from JBMR and JBMR Plus.
Well, it's a really huge amount of material to have to get yourself over. And I imagine, with the new technology, it's going to be quite interesting in terms of having to help to reorganize all of that and to think about lines by which people can go back and access content in an expeditious and a clear way.
Yes, and one of the things that our committee has been trying to do to curate all of this content is to develop topical modules. And so you can find these right now on the website. And basically, we choose the topics such as bone histomorphometry and bone biopsies, or effects of diabetes on bone structure. And we try to pull together all of the webinars, the relevant chapters of the primer, and publications from JBMR, JBMR Plus, to try and give members that are looking for information, basic information on a topic, they can find it in these topical modules.
And that is an incredibly useful resource for our members, and something, particularly if you're pulling together a lecture, or if you're wanting to find out for yourself, or if you're wanting to develop a grant, it's a huge asset. Can I ask you, how far back do you keep lectures and webinars? How far back does the content go?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm
Ish.
not exactly sure, at least from the past 10 or 15 years, probably when webinars started to get more popular, but we try to keep the latest information available within the topical modules.
Fantastic. And how did you end up? How did you end up with this role as the co-chair of the Education Committee?
So a few years ago, I was really interested in volunteering at ASBMR and giving back to the community and getting more involved. ASBMR asks for nominations or applications from volunteers, and so I was looking at all the different committees that they have, and I was really interested in the Education Committee. And so I emailed the chair of the committee for more information, and they told me about the direction of the committee, and I applied. I served on the committee for about a year, and then again, they were looking for people to become the chair. And so here I am.
and that's how everything is played out. Well, it's wonderful to have you as the chair. It's wonderful to have you chatting today. But in your real life, what do you do in real life?
So I'm an assistant
professor. Your job.
Yeah,
yes.
my job. I'm an assistant professor in the Faculty of Dental Medicine and Oral Health Sciences at McGill University. Right. And I investigate the multi-scale structure of bone and how it resists fracture. I'm also interested in neuromuscular disorders like cerebral palsy and how they affect bone structure.
And how do you think that your role as an ASBMR volunteer, both when you first came onto the committee and now in your role as chairperson, do you find that has any influence on what's going on in your real life work?
Oh, definitely. So as a part of the Education Advisory Committee, I see how much knowledge our community has developed within the ASBMR framework. And so I see how getting your students involved in ASBMR can have tremendous benefits for them. The ASBMR website, the Educational Resource Center, has so many resources to help train your students. And so I try and get my students involved and access that information, because you're seeing webinars or content from experts in the field. And so it's really a great way to help train your students.
I think both in terms of being able to literally hear it from the horse's mouth, as you said, the experts in the field, but also for you as a teacher and as a researcher, not having to reinvent wheels, because the resources are there and you just need to point people towards them.
Exactly.
Definitely. And my last question is to ask you about something about yourself outside of work. What do you like to do with your spare time?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't have a great answer. I have 2 little kids at home, and so I spend a lot of time trying to keep them curious about the world and taking care of them.
I think everybody who has been a parent to small children, or in fact anybody who's even been a parent to a dog, understands exactly what you're talking about. Well, definitely. I really appreciate you making time, particularly at this really busy holiday period, to talk to me today. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Emma Duncan. I'm the current president of the American Society for Bone and Mineral Research. And today I'm talking with Dr. Eva Liu, who's one of the co-chairs of the Education Advisory Committee. Welcome, Eva.
Hi. Hi, Emma.
Thank you very much for coming to talk with us. Eva, could you tell me about what your committee is responsible for?
Well, thanks for the question. So our committee is responsible for a number of different platforms. So we have 2 really themes that run through the committee. One is for research and one is clinical. And so one of the things that we do is sponsor a number of different webinars throughout the year, about 3 to 4, where investigators can really present their research topics, either in clinical research or basic science research. Another thing that we do is curate some content for the online education website for ASBMR. So one of the things that we've been working on the last 2 years is generating these modules which have topics that are very specific to clinical bone topics and also research techniques that trainees or those who are new to the bone field or even those who are established really want to find out some more information about specific topics to the musculoskeletal system can access. And then the last thing is that we help organize some events for the ASBMR annual meeting related to education. And the last thing is we're about to launch a series of webinars, interactive webinars focused on research techniques for basic science research community.
So when you mentioned about the annual scientific meeting, and I know that this year the chairperson of the POC, Dr. Joe Staines, has been speaking with you about essentially a baby bone course or a beginner bone course, so that everything you've always wanted to know about bone but were too afraid to ask. I know the Education Committee has been working with Joe to put together a program for an hour or so to really help newcomers to our meeting and first timers to the meeting to be able to come along and learn about basic bone physiology and also basic bone clinical information as well.
Yes, so we just met with the committee, so we've come up with a list of topics. It's going to be 1 hour long during the first official day of the ASBMR annual meeting, and will be targeted towards really trainees and people new to bone research. It's going to be several sections presented on kind of what are bone cells, what are the different types of bone cells, key signaling pathways, key techniques used in basic bone research, and some information on kind of common mouse used for research to help people guide people through the meeting so they can understand the presentations and the research a little bit better.
And I also imagine over the last year, and well, really the last 2 years, when you mentioned curating the online content, our new technology platform, we hope very much will make it a whole lot easier for people to be able to find things and to know what's there.
Yeah, I think the committee has looked through the online content in a lot of detail. We have a ton of content online, lots and lots of webinars, the online modules, the the primer and also JBMR and JBMR Plus are all really great online resources for everyone at ASBMR. But some of it can be very difficult to find, and we wanted to have it much better organized with much better technology and just make it much more user friendly. And so we've been working on kind of redesigning the website to make it better for people to see what the upcoming webinars are, to find the relevant webinars that they're interested in, and to access the education website much easier.
And on behalf of everyone, I just want to say thank you, because I think it's going to really help people of all levels of the society to come in and to make sure that they're cutting edge, again, whether they're in discovery science or whether they're in delivery science. So I think it's very much appreciated. How did you end up becoming a volunteer at ASBMR?
Well, I started off being encouraged to go to ASBMR meetings by research mentors, and I thought it was a really great community, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about behind the scenes of how the decisions for ASBMR are run, and a little bit more about all the different committees. And so I started off actually on the Ethics Advisory Committee, and really enjoyed kind of learning how different aspects of decisions were made with these committees. And so I'm also interested in just curating and advising on education content, and so thought to get involved with the Education Advisory Committee.
And do you find that the things that you're doing at ASBMR spill over into your day job?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think a lot of the content that we create is really important for clinical trainees who have a lot of questions about, aspects of osteoporosis and metabolic bone disease, and where to find the relevant articles and maybe relevant talks that could really help them with patient management. There's also core techniques that we're going to be launching our webinars on that I think would be very useful for all trainees who are starting in the lab, who maybe don't have a lot of experience in performing bone research before.
Thank you. And the very last thing I'd like to ask you is something about you outside of work and outside of your ASBMR volunteer role. Is there something that you'd like to share that people might not know about you?
Well, one of my biggest hobbies is travel, so I really like traveling around the universe when I get the chance. And so, let's see, some recent trips were to South Korea or New Zealand, so I'll try to get away when I can.
Thank you very much for your time. I'm really grateful that you took the time to have this interview with us, and I look forward to working with you in the ASBMR during the course of my presidency and beyond. Thank you
So much for the interview.